Today on the Eat to Live podcast.
Those claims people make about drinking water help with your headaches, help your skin look better, help with you look younger, help you have less wrinkles. It's all bull. There's no data to suggest any of those things are true.
Hey, welcome to the Eat to Live podcast. I am here with my dad, medical doctor, nutritional researcher, father of 4. How you doing?
Doing good. Good to see you. I haven't seen you in a long time.
Just kidding. We were with each other.
Daughter Jenna.
We were with each other last night at Thanksgiving dinner.
And had a lot of fun.
It was a great time. Yeah, thanks for hosting. Okay, so today's topic, we actually are not talking about food for once.
No?
No, we are talking about liquids, the bevies that you drink. So all about good, bad, and Dr. Fuhrman approved drinks.
Okay.
Okay, so let's get right into it.
There aren't many of those around.
Oh, God. Okay, so I guess my first question for you is, what are some healthy drinks that you recommend?
I don't recommend any healthy drinks. I recommend drinking water when you're thirsty, or a little bit extra. We'll talk about that. And getting your calories from food, where you chew and mix it with saliva and breaking down cells with the fiber intact. So I do not recommend liquid calories. And when people add soy milk or hemp milk or almond milk or oat milk or rice milk to their cereal, to their oats, or to something they're eating, I recommend they not drink carbohydrate in liquid form. That means it's better to use soy milk, almond milk, hemp milk, and not use the rice milk and the oat milk, because those are carbohydrate in liquid form, like applesauce, apple juice, orange juice, all not recommended. Put sugar into the bloodstream too rapidly. It's not just the fiber, it's also that you're not chewing it and not mixing with saliva, which all plays a role. So don't drink carbohydrate liquids. But I'm not drinking soy milk, almond milk, and hemp milk either. I'm just using some of it in my cooking, in my food. I'm sometimes having a little bit, half a cup or something.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit as a drink. And so that's those calorie-containing drinks, the calorie-containing drinks that, like, I'm usually using nuts or bean drinks, right? And then there's the, like, tea, coffee kind of thing that are non-caloric. And I would think that tea is better than coffee, lower in caffeine. Green tea better than black tea, because it's not going to be cooked or roasted, and the roasting process adds some acrylamides to it. And green tea has some beneficial, and other herbal teas, green tea and herbal teas have beneficial polyphenols and beneficial antioxidants. There's this element of green tea called EGCG, which is a super healthy anti-cancer, immune-supporting substance in green tea, like in green vegetables. It's really good for you. So usually the low caffeine or low caffeine green teas. But then the question is, are people adding sugar to those things they're drinking? That's a negative because they're putting liquid sugar in. So you really don't want to have them sweet or just a hint of least sweetness as possible. And then the other element, which we have to remind me to mention about, is that when you drink beverages that are hot, steaming hot, it makes micro burns to the oral mucosa that increase the risk of tongue and throat cancer. Okay, so beverages that are really hot are not good for you. When you go to Starbucks and buy a coffee, they pour a hot coffee into a cardboard cup lined with plastic, which then gets microplastics into the coffee, and you're drinking microplastics that go to the brain, cause dementia, and increase your risk of cancer, and are endocrine disruptors. So if you're drinking things that are hot, they better be in glass, not in, but they shouldn't be hot. Let it cool off. Let it just be warm. Even a hot soup could burn your tongue. Don't have anything that can feed, because a lot of people are so habituated to drinking hot beverages that they lose the ability to feel that they're causing microburns. And they like this really hot beverage, and they think that it's okay to have they like hot soup, they like hot beverages. They don't realize that they're actually causing chronic damage to their oral mucosa from drinking things that are too hot.
Yeah, what's funny is when you see your drink come in a paper product or your soup come in a paper product, you don't think it's plastic, but actually they're lining it with a plastic coating mixed with a scalding hot beverage. It can just melt the plastic into what we're consuming, which once you start visualizing that, you're like, don't go into my body.
Right. So these coffees that people are drinking are even worse for them than they think. Bad enough they put sugar and all the other junk in them too.
And I want you to know, Kara's boyfriend Arius taught me, and he does this, that when you go if you forgot your glass cup, which I always bring a glass cup if I'm going to a coffee shop, but you could also ask for kids temp, which is a less hot version.
Mm-hmm.
So I always ask for kids temp because I don't want to burn my mouth because I have you in my ear, Dr. Fuhrman.
Right, yeah.
So when we're talking about I don't even know if it's the gold standard of beverages, water, the beverage that everyone should be drinking every single day, how much water should we be drinking?
Right. First of all, the water should be clean. And here where we live, the water has chloramine and chlorine and other toxins in it. So we have two types of systems. We have a whole house water purifier and water softener. So you don't get, so it doesn't ruin your water pick and your washing machines. Everything gets ruined by the minerals in the water. Mm. But then we also have a reverse osmosis filter. On top of that household water purification system, we also have a reverse osmosis filter under the sink with a second spigot. So the water we're drinking has been first filtered and then reverse osmosis purified. So it's really just pure water.
I know you've always been a really strong advocate for very clean water,
yes.
But a lot of families out there just use the water from their fridge with that little filter. Is that sufficient?
No, it's not sufficient. It doesn't take the chloramines and the chlorines out sufficiently.
I knew you would say that.
Yeah.
So you really think reverse osmosis is important?
Yes.
You were very into hydrogen water for a second. Are you still into hydrogen water for anti-aging and longevity benefits?
Yes, at least hydrogen water I think is beneficial. But let's talk about that in the next podcast. We talk about the gut, the microbiome, because hydrogen water is the biggest effect on the microbiome, particularly people with microbiome problems. So hydrogen water, drinking water, like when I wake up in the morning, I'll put the Hydrobiotech pill into a glass of water, and I'll have 1 glass of hydrogen water this morning when I woke up, because you're all night long, you're not drinking water, you're sleeping. You wake up in the morning, you're moderately dehydrated, and you have a glass of water when you wake up in the morning. And that first glass of water, I dissolve the hydrogen pill in the water, because the hydrogen pill in the water puts more hydrogen in the water than getting a hydrogen water machine does. And you drink that water, and there's beneficial effects, because hydrogen's like an antioxidant scavenger. And it helps heal the digestive tract, keeps the leaky gut, the inflammation in the gut. It feeds the microbiome. So it's very good to have.
What do you mean an antioxidant scavenger?
A free radical scavenger.
There you go. Okay. Yeah. I was like, wouldn't that be bad? Okay. Yeah. So again, how much water? You always used to say to me, drink when you're thirsty. You don't need to drink a ton of water. I feel like a lot of physicians out there really push drinking water, a ton of water, like 2 gallons a day, multiple gallons a day. And I felt like you never...
Let's see, 1 gallon is 4 quarts, right?
Yeah.
1 gallon, 4 quarts. A quart is 4 cups. So a gallon would be 16 cups. That would be 20, whatever.
I just know that they're like, drink water. More the better. Is that the case?
I don't know. People have all these different opinions about drinking water that's not based on science. The studies on the scientific justification for over drinking water is not there. There's not adequate studies to show that there's benefits that those claims people make about drinking water help with your headaches, help your skin look better, help with you look younger, help you have less wrinkles. It's all bull. There's no data to suggest any of those things are true, and that we shouldn't get thirsty. We shouldn't be dehydrated. But other than avoiding dehydration, there's no benefit to excess drinking of water. You don't wash away more toxins in your kidney. You wash away the same. Your kidney works with it can concentrate your urine, wash away just as many toxins as you can with more dilute urine. It's not drinking more water doesn't take more toxins out of your body. There's no benefit to drinking extra water you didn't need. And the data on water and weight loss is also very scant and not solid and not strong enough to make a big difference. So yes, we should drink some water. We need some water, but we're on a high water content, low salt diet. So let's start by saying the water needs of a nutritarian who's getting all this high water content in the food we're eating. And I just had, maybe have a cantaloupe, or maybe I might have 2 oranges after lunch, or with a bowl of soup with no salt in it. I just flooded my body with water with lunch, was from the soup and from the oranges. I didn't have to, I had a piece of whatever, so it's all reasonable. And then our diet's so low in salt. Now, the American diet is so high in dry foods with no water content, and it's also so high in salt that increases the person's water needs by 3 times. So instead of needing 3 cups a day, they need 9 cups a day. So maybe this person on a standard American diet, which is so bad, needs 9 cups of water a day, and maybe us on a nutritarian diet needs 2 or 3 cups of water a day, because we're drinking water in what we eat, and we're not, And when you take in more salt in your food, your body keeps the blood level of salt the same as you and I who take in very little salt. Now, how does the person take in 4,000 milligrams and we're taking in 400 milligrams and they're taking in 10 times as much, but they have the same blood level of sodium? Is because their kidney has trained, accommodates all the extra sodium, and it just constantly works on getting rid of extra sodium. So their urine has a lot of sodium in it. Our urine doesn't have sodium in it. So our sweat doesn't have sodium in it. A person on a high sodium diet, they're sweating out sodium. Now, when you eat a high salt diet and you lose all that sodium, you lose other electrolytes in the process. So now your body is always electrolyte deficient. And then they drink a lot of water on top of that, and they wash away more electrolytes. And now it just leads to cramping and whatever. It leads to less exercise tolerance, intolerance of the heat. Now, we're not excreting sodium. So if we're exercising, playing tennis, going for a run, going for a big hike, doing something that requires a lot of sweating, we're not going to lose electrolytes, so we're not going to cramp up. We'll just can replace it with water. In that case, in the summertime in the heat, when we're sweating, when I'm playing a 2-hour hard tennis match and I'm sweating a lot, sure, I'm going to replace water. I may even drink 2 quarts of water during the match. But if I wasn't just sitting around doing nothing in the air conditioning, I wouldn't need that water. So in addition to my 2 to 3 glasses a day, I might have another 4 to 5 glasses a day to accommodate some heavy exercise I just did where I was sweating really hard in the summertime. But so it's all, but I'm not, focused on having to focus on drinking more water. I was thirsty and I would feel I needed more water.
I just think it's so interesting how nutritional science can get skewed and adapted based on unhealthy diets. Like there's all this marketing money and campaigns spent on Gatorade to replenish electrolytes.
Right.
But meanwhile, they're not talking about the elephant in the room. That is, if you're eating an unhealthy diet, really high in sodium, you're losing a ton of electrolytes, you're throwing the homeostasis of your body off. And then you have to replenish using these sugary drinks that just exacerbates overall health and wellness. So the bottom line is eat high quality food that has high water content. Don't eat excess sodium. And then your body will balance itself naturally, right?
Right. And for a nutritarian on a no added sodium diet, an SOS-free diet, SOS-free means sugar, salt, and oil free, sugar, oil, and salt free, then excess water could wash away too much sodium, leading to hyponatremia or too low blood sodium. So then you're going to have the potential of a problem with too much water drinking water when you don't need it, just to force water down.
And didn't you say we could also wash away excess nutrients if we drink water with a meal? So it should really be before or after a meal?
Yeah. Well, drinking water with the meal could lower the concentration of digestive enzymes. So you shouldn't have more than half a cup of liquid with the meal at the most, because you don't want to dilute those enzymes. Having a whole glass of water or too much water. So you could drink 15 minutes before, a half an hour before, or 2 hours after, or at least an hour after. It takes like an hour or two to digest a meal if it has anything heavy in it, like beans and nuts and things. So it's best to, if you're having a low sodium meal, there's liquid in the meal, you're not going to be thirsty anyway. So you shouldn't drink. You should drink between meals when you wake up in the morning. Yeah, drink between breakfast and lunch. Drink between lunch and dinner. Drink it, have a glass at bedtime. Have a glass when you wake up. But don't be drinking a lot of beverages with the meals. And also, an ice cold beverage with the meal, which people are advocating now to increase weight loss based on a study that's really not a good study. It doesn't really show much benefit. But the ice cold water with the meal could interfere with the secretion of digestive enzymes, making you not digest the meal as well. So even that's not a good idea.
I think they were advocating though before you start a meal.
Yes.
Cold water before your meal. They were saying I saw some research that it could maybe help you not take as many calories in.
Yes, and I'm saying that data is kind of weak because all they did is they put people on it wasn't blinded. They told people to drink ice cold water before the meal, and they coupled it with a low calorie diet. And they said, yes, they lost more weight than the people who didn't drink the ice cold, but these people weren't given the told to eat a low calorie diet. It wasn't it wasn't placebo, it's not placebo control, it was a controlled trial. So and it was such a moderate benefit that I think that if they track people over time, over years, that habit would show no long-term benefits. I don't really believe that that's effective way of weight loss.
Quality of the food was something you would prefer.
It's eating a high-quality diet, a high fiber, eating the healthier the quality of your diet, long-term health, long-term weight loss, weight control. There's no fad, there's no gimmick, there's no pill that can make your microbiome be good. There's no one substance that has all these magic effects. It's the same thing with the water. It's that drink a moderate amount of water. It's true that if you're thirsty all the time, then you're chronically dehydrated because your thirst doesn't kick in till you're already a little dehydrated. So if you're waiting to drink till you wait to get to thirst, you're probably drinking too little. So you should drink just enough so you're not thirsty.
Right.
But you don't have to force water down and think you're going to lose a lot more weight or control your appetite by constantly drinking all day long. That's not going to be good for you. Or even it's probably not going to be that hurtful and just you overdrank. But overdrinking can lead to loss of electrolytes. And, people who are marathon runners or, professional bicyclists, competitors, they sweating a lot and they drink, some of them overdrink and can cause a seizure due to hyponatremia, low sodium in the blood. Because they drank so much water thinking it was good for them to rehydrate that they got their sodium too low and they had a seizure. They're in the emergency room now because they overdrank water. So this, and we know from being a physician, that there's a medical condition called polydipsia. That means that people are psychologically drinking too much water, and it can lead to various types of medical conditions.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
The major one is a seizure due to low blood sodium, over drinking water.
So although you said there's no other beverages on a nutritarian diet, we do use a lot of plant milk, and not dairy milk, plant milk. Can you talk a little bit about why you wouldn't recommend dairy to anyone and urge them to drink plant milk instead?
Well, yeah, I had the cereal soaked last night, and I soaked it in soy milk overnight. And sometimes we make a nut milk, and I prefer to put some hemp seeds in the nut milk. So it's almond hemp, walnut hemp, something with the hemp, flax hemp. So mixing some hemp seeds with the milk, because obviously hemp seeds and walnuts have the most omega-3 fatty acids. So I prefer the almond milk have some hemp seeds mixed in. So I'll buy commercial hemp milk sometime or commercial soy milk. But the soy milk I'm using is made from 2 ingredients only, organic soybeans and purified water. Because there's some soy milk brands that have a lot of additives.
Yeah.
Vitamin A, folic acid, which is not good for you. And some soy milk brands are made from organic soybeans and water. Organic soybeans and water, they're using municipal water, sink water, with chlorine in it or fluoride in it, right?
Right.
So we're getting purified water with the soy milk. So there's a few brands that have so I'll use that. But I'm not like guzzling, but I do use it on my cereal in the morning. It's,
I love enjoying cereal. I feel like we both enjoy healthy cereal.
Today I had both pomegranates from our own pomegranate tree with wild blueberries mixed in with the flax, chia, and hemp with a little bit of the overnight oats. And so and soaked in soy milk overnight.
Okay, but what about dairy? Why do you choose plant milk over dairy?
Well, lots of reasons. But the main reason is that milk raises IGF-1, insulin-like growth factor 1. And IGF-1, we're trying to keep IGF-1 low because dairy products and milk is a product to accelerate growth in the cow. It's designed for the cow, and it maximizes growth. And especially adults drinking milk has growth-promoting hormones that the body produces their own growth-promoting hormone in response to the protein structure of the milk. And that growth-promoting hormones can drive cancer. And there's a link between, obviously, the strongest link is between dairy and prostate cancer in men and dairy and ovarian cancer in women. It's much, and also soy products have more than 1,000 studies showing, in spite of what people think and they believe the nonsense on the internet, the real studies show that soybeans, including not just the edamame and the dried soybeans cooked, but also soy milk and tofu, are linked to lower rates of breast and prostate cancer.
Can I get a PSA on that? There's definitely a lot of myths around soy, so I'm happy for you to set the record straight.
What's a PSA?
Public service announcement?
Oh, the same with a male PSA blood test for prostate cancer.
Oh, really?
It's called the PSA.
Oh,
that's cool.
Oh, yeah. I'm the reporter, you're the doctor. Okay. So back to then the vegan milks, the plant sources, you really don't encourage people to drink, as you said, the carbohydrate like oat milk. Is that because, and we can have it in moderation, or is that because it's very sugary? What's the reasoning behind that?
All carbohydrates turn into sugar in the bloodstream. Mm-hmm. So we take that carbohydrate and we turn it enters the blood as sugar. And when you drink, I don't even recommend flour, because it's ground too fine. It enters the bloodstream too rapidly as sugar.
Like
Even
white flour, you mean, or whole wheat flour?
Whole wheat flour. I don't even recommend whole wheat flour.
Really?
Yeah. If it's still too finely ground, it has too high a glycemic effect. If you're going to have bread, that's why I'm eating the Ezekiel bread or the manna bread, because they're sprouted grains that are coarsely ground. They didn't grind it to a fine flour, so that you're not entering the bloodstream as rapidly. It's not, the glycemic load is much lower.
It's more of a seedy bread.
It's a seedy bread, but also they're using grains. It's a set, like the Ezekiel bread is a 7-grain bread, but they sprouted the grains and then they crushed them and they baked them into a loaf.
Right.
So it's not the same thing as grinding it to a fine powder, like paste, like whole wheat pastry flour. The flours are too rapidly absorbed, and the flours contain some degree of mycotoxins that are not really that favorable, because we are exposed to a lot of mold in our environment. And why take the extra mold in flours? Well, if you took the oat groats instead of oat flour, or the whole wheat berries instead of the whole wheat flour, or the you sprouted the grains, it's much cleaner food and healthier for you.
Makes sense.
So carbohydrates enter the bloodstream as sugar, and when we eat carbohydrates, their digestion is initiated in the mouth, and it's not just the ptyalin in the saliva that initiates the digestion of carbohydrates. It's also chewing and mixing it with saliva. And the saliva mixing with the carbohydrates causes secretion of beneficial anti-inflammatory compounds and epithelial growth factors that heal the lining of the gut. So there's some negative effects from drinking carbohydrate liquids. So like apple juice is a really unhealthy thing to drink apple juice. It's not but to eat an apple, you're chewing down fiber and you're mixing with saliva, and there's chemicals and bacteria in the mouth, and all these things are getting mixed up into a completely different chemical concoction when you chewed the apple up compared to you drinking some apple juice. So we're doing it differently. We're not drinking liquid carbohydrates. So we're not recommending people drink rice milk or oat milk.
Okay. So when you talk about the apple juice, I think it's really interesting too. When you flip over the nutrition facts and you look at the sugar content, it's like 28 grams. It's really a lot of sugar. So it's many apples. It's very high in sugar, and it's not the same thing as eating one apple, where you also get a lot more full from the fiber.
Definitely. One glass of apple juice, you're right, would have the sugar from 5 apples in there. Where you wouldn't even eat, you couldn't sit down and eat 5 apples and shove it down with the meal. You'd be too much apples. You wouldn't. So it encourages the consumption of more sugar in the meal. We're trying to have less sugar in our exposure. And even when we make a dessert once a day, we're not even putting more than 1 date in per person to flavor the dessert, other than the fruit content.
Yeah, that makes sense. You don't need like a sickly
Like I made it in Thanksgiving. I made cranberry jelly, and I used 8 cups. I made too much. I used 8 cups of cranberries, to about 3 cups of water, but I only put in about 8 dates. So 8 medjool dates. So that was still, and cranberries are really sour, like lemon. You got to sweeten them a lot. Oh, I put in some frozen cherries though. I mixed frozen cherries and dates with the cranberry and a little bit of vinegar, and I put in I put in about 4 tablespoons of agar-agar to make it gelatinize, like a Jell-O mold.
Yeah. Boy, was it gelatinous. Yeah.
But that was a lot of agar. 4 tablespoons.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It's a lot. It's almost a whole bag of agar-agar I put in there.
Well, it was delicious and it was sweet. So you really can get away with so much.
Yeah, so it's not super sweet, and there was no, obviously, just other than the dates. But I'm saying even that, I only ate 1 date, not more than 1 date per person, probably. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. It was very sweet. It was delicious.
Yeah.
So moving on from plant milks, it's only natural to talk about coffee, tea, and caffeine. So you do not recommend coffee. I don't think you think there's a lot of health benefits in it. But for someone like me, being very transparent, who absolutely loves it, I feel like we met with an agreement on I can have 1 cup a day and there's no significant negatives with that. Is that true?
Yeah, the negatives definitely increase as you drink more coffee. Now, it's a different element with the standard American diet because they're not exposed to any flavonoids and polyphenols. So coffee is a bean and it has some polyphenols in it. For us, we don't need the coffee polyphenols. We get plenty of polyphenols with the beans and everything else we're eating, all the plant foods we're eating.
But that's why coffee looks good, looks healthy too.
Yeah, so to this unhealthy person, it's the only polyphenols they get. Maybe it has some benefits to them. There's no benefits for us drinking coffee, but the problem with coffee is that, number 1, it contains acrylamides because it's burnt, it's cooked too much. But number 2, the caffeine interferes with sleep at night. Now, it's okay for you probably because your 1 cup a day doesn't interfere with your sleep. People react differently to coffee. Some people
Well, to the caffeine.
to the caffeine in coffee, right? Some people, and the other thing is they can feel that they can sleep less because they wake up and they can wake themselves up with a cup of coffee and it keeps them alert during the day.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's not good to make yourself, so you can sleep less. You can get by on 6 or 7 hours of sleep. And if you didn't have the caffeine, you need 8 or 9 hours. Well, then you need 8 or 9 hours. You don't need 5 or 6 hours. If you need this, you use the coffee to get by with less sleep. Well, that's shortened your lifespan then.
It's relying on a drug.
Yeah, it's relying on a drug instead of you needing sleep.
Yeah.
But if you're already getting your 8 hours a day and you're able to drink 1 cup a day and it's not interfering with your sleep at night, then fine.
Okay.
As long as you're not putting too much sweetener in the coffee.
Right.
Yeah. If I had a cup of coffee a couple times a year to taste your coffee or somebody else's coffee, it's like that tastes good. It's a little bit sweet. But if it wasn't sweetened at all, it wouldn't taste good.
Right.
And then I don't want to drink sweet drinks anyway. So I don't want to drink black coffee. That's not going to taste good.
I'm laughing.
I mean, coffee with soy milk, you know what I mean? But
yeah. I'm just laughing because it is just a couple times a year. Like, really do not drink coffee or anything whatsoever, but like once a year.
No, I think like a couple times in my life. I don't think I've ever had, maybe I had 3 cups of coffee in my whole life. No, not even a whole cup, like a half a cup 3 times in my life.
I'm very impressed with that, honestly. I don't know how you do it. I just, I love the aroma. I limit myself. I only have, 1 cup a day, but I also think it's very interesting about coffee that the level it's roasted matters too, because that plays into the acrylamides, and how burnt it is really does affect your health. So like the Starbucks super burnt coffee, it's not good. I just have to mention that.
Do they have coffees that go to a higher degree of roast that gets them darker?
Yes.
And more blackened? Yeah, they do.
Darker roast and lighter roast. So you would definitely advise against the darker.
Right.
Yeah, based on the acrylamides, which is cool. So green tea, although it has caffeine, like you're very wary of caffeine. You don't want us to get too much. You would actually prefer probably none. But green tea, you think is a healthy beverage. And then what about decaffeinated teas? Are those something you would want us to drink?
Some of the green teas are naturally low in caffeine. They're not decaffeinated.
Right.
They just only contain 20 milligrams of coffee.
Yeah.
20 milligrams of caffeine compared to 80 milligrams a cup in the coffee.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the 20 milligrams is an insignificant amount of caffeine. And there's some green tea types that have very low, almost undetectable caffeine.
Right.
So a naturally low green tea caffeine. And then see if you want to have green tea, what would you sweeten it with? Or flavor it with the tea.
Some people don't eat anything.
Yeah.
But your concern would be if you're adding honey, sugar, sweetener.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
Green sugary liquids, right.
Otherwise, though, the green tea in itself would be lifespan promoting.
Correct.
Because it has a lot of those. I know you love the antioxidants and elements in green tea because you put it in a lot of your supplements for anti-cancer.
In the Ultracell Biotech, the supplement designed to fight cancer for people with cancer, has green tea, a special type of green tea extract in it. That's been shown to be very absorbable. And also we put the green tea extract in the complete green supplement and broccoli sprout extract and turmeric extracts and curcumins. There's all these anti-cancer natural herbs and spices that go into those things. Yeah.
And they make a lot of herbal teas with like turmeric and also health promoting foods too. So
people want to have it. They shouldn't sweeten it too much. Just a touch of, make it just like the hint of sweetener. Don't put too much sugar. The key is not to put too much sweetener in there. And I'm not for and stevia, xylitol. All these monk fruit, all these so-called healthy non-caloric sweeteners are still not healthy when you overdo it, because it still stimulates the brain to crave sweets, and it still stimulates the axis between the gut and the brain, the connection between the gut and the brain to be triggering that unfavorable triggers for and artificial sweeteners are linked to increased risk of stroke, even without calories, by the way. So we're talking here about whatever sweetener you're using, even a relatively healthy sweetener like stevia or monk fruit, still just make it so you're using as little as possible, like a dropper, just so it's not to remove the bitterness, to make it palatable, but don't drink it so it's a sweet, sugary liquid.
And that's for 2 reasons. You don't want our palates to adjust to needing those very, very sweet items, and then also what it does to our brain, which is
correct.
What does it do to our brain?
Well, it perpetuates the desire to keep for sweets.
It doesn't turn down the apostat, it turns it up.
Correct.
Wow, that's interesting. Okay. So I have to ask this because we're on the topic of caffeine. You hate energy drinks. Why?
What are you talking about? That would be an energy drink, would be sugar and high doses of caffeine. That would be the opposite of what we're talking about.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of people that don't know, I think, the dangers of energy drinks. And I know them because you are always very against them and very vocal about it. So
high caffeinated beverage can lead to a cardiac arrhythmia and irregular heartbeat, and and even as you get older, into sudden cardiac death. I mean, certainly those drinks, are particularly dangerous.
Because there are some energy drinks out there that market themselves as like a healthier for you. And just don't be fooled by that marketing, I think is important.
Well, we don't want to eat for energy, and we don't want to eat to take away fatigue. We want to not be fatigued because our body is healthy and we get enough sleep at night.
Right.
If you're tired, then you want to eat healthy and get enough sleep. You don't want to use stimulants. And the problem with most Americans' way of thinking is they think that they eat to get rid of fatigue, and they think fatigue is a symptom of hunger, and they eat more food to keep their energy up, and they drink to keep their energy up. And that's the formula for a shortened lifespan.
So talking about the other side of the coin, healthy drink options, smoothies and juices, like, are those part of the Nutritarian program? Do you need them? And why would you choose a smoothie over a juice or a juice over a smoothie? Which is better?
Well, it's always better to chew the salad with your teeth and not have it. But we don't want to drink liquids. We want to mix it with saliva. So the smoothies I call a blended salad. It's a way I don't have the time to get my salad into me, so I'm going to put it into a blender, and I'll blend it with a little bit of berries or a cut up apple in there, because I'll drink my salad, or I'll eat it with a spoon because I don't have time to eat a salad today. So that's a blended salad or a smoothie. I wouldn't be making fruit smoothies. There's no advantage to smooth smoothies. They're a carbohydrate. They should be mixed with saliva and chewed. And then there's juicing, and I won't recommend fruit juices. Like we make the carrot beet green juice, like bok choy, celery, cabbage, and some carrot and beet, which sweeten it enough. We don't have to add an apple to it. We can add a little lemon to it, or people can add some ginger to it, right? So we're drinking juice once in a while because we're getting some good nutrients into us. But those aren't important for us to drink the juices because our diet's relatively good. But for some of my people I advise, their diet has been bad for so long that I want to build up the level of the nutrients in their cells faster. And by having them take a glass of juice once or twice a day, I can get the level of nutrients in their tissues built up quicker to help me fight and defend against their autoimmune disease or their cancer, to help them get back to enhance disease recovery or disease reversal. But in the long run, we're eating so healthy, we don't have to keep juicing all the time. But I do have a lot of guests and patients who I'm doing advise to juice for that reason.
Right. You're trying to get their antioxidants
up in the tissue faster.
Yeah. Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So there's some benefits on the antioxidant component from a juice, but otherwise, if you just eat a healthy diet, it's not absolutely vital.
Well, these people, let's say you're a person who has been diagnosed with breast cancer.
Yeah.
I'm going to feed you all these nutrients in your diet, but you're not going to have the appetite and the calories to feel like eating another 5 carrots, another 2 peppers, another 2 beets, and another handful of greens. You can't eat all that food. But by putting it into a juice, I just got you eat another pound of vegetables, another pound of vegetable nutrients into your body each day.
Right.
So I increase the amount of vegetables you can consume each day, which then increase the amount of nutrients I transmit into your cells every day. So I was able to get more nutrients into you, but you couldn't have eaten all that food. It's too filling. So it makes it so you're able to eat more nutrients in your tissues when you're nutrient deprived like that. You need the nutrients.
And those nutrients are going to fight disease.
Going to fight the cancer.
Yeah.
We can't wait to a year till your level of nutrients get high enough to fight the cancer. I got to have the nutrients in your tissues building up in the next few weeks to fight this cancer, or to get well from your lupus.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
What about protein powders? I know you recommend your protein powder that has nuts and seeds, beans, greens in it for elderly and highly active individuals. Is that right? I
think 3 categories of people.
Okay.
Mostly as we get older, we absorb less protein. And like me, I'm a 70-year-old, but I'm highly active, meaning I'm going a lot of downhill skiing, I'm lifting weights, I'm doing things. As a person ages, their bioavailability of protein goes down. And for me, it's just about I don't have much appetite. I don't want to eat any more food. So putting a little protein powder in, it makes it so I'm not overeating. So as you get older, yes. And you're doing more, especially very active. And as you get to past 80 years old, yes, it's helpful to help maintain muscle mass and bone, size with aging on a plant-based diet, And the other people is that the heavy, serious athlete, right?
And I do want people to know what 70 can look like. We're going to hit the gym one of these episodes.
Why don't 3 episodes? Why don't we do that next time? Maybe we should do 2 episodes in the gym just to do some exercise podcasts.
Maybe, but I just want people to see what 70 can look like, how you're so fit, you ski, you play tennis, you lift weights, you have a 6-pack. So for all the people that just say vegans are not fit or too skinny and frail, I just really want to show what that looks like. So.
Well, their perception of what's normal has been thrown off by everybody being too large and too big.
Mm-hmm. Which can be lifespan inhibiting.
Fit and lean for longer life.
Yeah. Okay, I just have one more drink question because I've always been curious about it. Kombucha. There's so much hype around it, helping gut health, having probiotics, but it also has a high sugar content. So do you think it could be a delicious beverage to enjoy that isn't harmful, or? No,
it tastes too bad if it's not a lot of sugar in it. The level of sugar is too high. It's not worth it. I don't think so.
Right.
But any of these things we have once in a while or a small amount, it's not going to be a big deal. But I think it's good for you and start to drinking a whole, on a regular basis. The main message here, which we're leaving with, is that people should be eating their food, not drinking it. When you're taking in calories, eat most of your calories. Don't drink it down in liquid form. Okay, cool. But you can enjoy them a little bit throughout your day. Not throughout the day. Well, what about like a hot tea, a nut milk, maybe a hot tea with some nut milk in it, a hot tea with some soy milk in it. A nutritarian glass of wine, or a nutritarian chia mushroom tea or something. Yeah. Okay. There's mushroom beverages. And then we also love adding vinegar to some sparkling water so there's some definite better options that can leave you with and add some beverages. If you're not just sitting there with a beverage, drinking beverages all day long. For sure. And especially not when they're hot. Yeah. Okay. All right, Dr. Fuhrman, thanks for the information. Good podcast. Thank you. And Eat to Live listeners, we will see you next time.